We're on episode 84 today.
84.
We skipped last week because you're out sick. We'll talk more about that. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the woman up at the well, but also you're going to be talking about some music that you've been listening to during your bout with COVID.
Yes, we will.
All right, so episode 84.
All right. Joshy Washy.
Yes. West Street.
West Street. So we didn't record last week. I was a little ill.
Yeah. Came down with the vid.
Had the vid, man.
Vidmeister.
And, it's kind of funny, not in a funny way. But
still not fully back.
I'm still not fully back. I'm not fully back. Emotionally, I want to be back. I'm starting to feel better, but affectively, my emotions are I'm very flat.
Yeah.
So I have to do. If I want to try to be myself, I have to do it in a matter of an hour. I can't last a day of doing anything.
Right.
Yesterday, I went to, we did gun club last night. Mm-hmm. Great class, by the way. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I hardly did anything the full day. And then at 6:30, I went and we did gun club. And I was good for an hour. Mm-hmm. Then I went home and and sulked some more. And I, just woke up a couple hours ago and here we are. So I'm trying to get back into it. So it's just, after spending 7 to 10 days by yourself with a cat, watching TV, everything's static, and you're just kind of sleeping. Man, I take three naps a day after sleeping 12 hours. I take 2-3 naps a day. I remember I would text Donna, "Hey, I only took one nap today." 1 2-hour nap.
Better.
Get better, man. I'm on the mend. I'm on the mend. But the reason,
barely conscious.
Yeah, the reason it hit me so hard is because I had a photo shoot on a Friday night. Went really well with what is it? The teen challenge. So people that are recovering from addiction. We had a Friday night service, so I did a photo shoot. Went really well. The next day, I started feeling a little tired. It was Saturday. I'm feeling that well. Went and played pickleball. Felt okay, but it was really hot. And so I went, after I leave pickleball, either go mountain biking or I go to visit Donna. And I didn't go mountain biking because it was just too much. It was just too hot. So I went and visited Donna. Felt fine. Drove home from Donna's house about 2:30 or so. And I got in the driveway and boom, all of a sudden got a bout of, what's it called? Meniere's. Mm-hmm. Meniere's disease. So what happens is I lose equilibrium and I can't focus. My eyes don't focus, very blurry, get nauseous, start breathing shallow and rapid, and start sweating. So I'm sitting in my car, literally in the driveway with I hadn't even closed the garage door so I can drive in, close the garage door. Usually I drove in and boom, it hit me. And I'm sitting there and I just have my head down like this. And that usually takes 2 days to recover from. Mm-hmm. But not only did that hit, I guess the night before I got COVID from somebody because it was kind of a small area,
right? And
a lot of people were really excited, and the Holy Spirit was there. It was a really good experience. It really, really was. But I was really close to a lot of people. So,
and you always have this bad habit of licking doorknobs.
Yeah, I had stopped doing that for a while, but
yeah. Old habits.
I can't, I'm only human. They had brass doorknobs too. I mean, I'm passing that up.
Right.
I mean, how often do you get brass doorknobs?
I know. It's always the cheap plastic. It looks
I know.
Like it, yeah.
So anyway, Sunday I couldn't go to church. I was just wiped. And then Sunday night I said, Donna, I think I need some help. So she took me to the doctor the next day. And it seriously, whenever it was one of those things that she took me to the doctor, and I was in a good mood, but I could barely open my eyes because everything was so intense. The light, movement, anything knocked off my equilibrium. Plus, I just wasn't feeling well. So I had, I ended up, and I had a low-grade fever, 99 point something or other. You know, you have a low-grade fever, you kind of feel clammy a little bit, and you kind of, I'm okay, and that's the way it was for the whole 7-10 days. So I've got some medicine, and actually didn't get medicine. She said, there's really nothing that we can do for you. You know, unless if it's COVID, there's really nothing you can do for it. COVID/flu is what they're calling it these days.
Right.
And the tests, now the lines will say you've got COVID or you've got the flu or maybe you've got both. And I had COVID twice in a row, so 4 days separated. And I felt pretty much the exact same way the whole time. I could tell whenever the hangover, what I call it, from the Meniere's goes away, but I could still, after that was gone away, after 2 days, I could still tell that I was not feeling well.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what happened. It wasn't just the COVID; it was the COVID and the Meniere's. Meniere's, man, it's a funky disease, man. It really is.
Is the COVID test? No, I haven't had one in a long time.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I've only had one test. I had COVID multiple times, but only one test. And it was right at the beginning of the COVID area.
Oh, so you got something stuck down your nose?
Yeah, when they were shoving the cotton spike up your nose.
Your brain. Yeah,
like scraping the top of the inside of your skull. What is it now?
Well, this one was similar, but not as far back.
Okay.
So it's just a swab that you put inside of your nostril, and you switch it around, both nostrils, switch around 5 times, put it in a solution, and you squeeze the thing that you put in your nose into the solution. You take the solution, put it in this little container. It looks like you're seeing if you're pregnant or not.
Right.
I peed on mine just to make sure.
Just in case.
Just in case I needed to do that. Not pregnant. But I had COVID.
I hear, so this is what I've heard. If a guy pees on a pregnancy test and it shows up positive, it means he probably has prostate cancer.
Oh, I got to get that looked at. Well, no, I'm not pregnant, so that's fine. So that's what that was. It's just a little thingamajigger. So I mean, you got to wait a half hour to do it. But anyway, it's fun reading those directions too. Whenever you're not feeling up to par,
but you can't even read a text.
I know. Like, okay, you put this in your nose. Really, I got to put this in my nose. Yeah, I know. And you guys are trying to text me, and I don't know. I told you I'm not responsible for anything that I've said.
Right.
You change. You've done a lot of work with our logo and the name and everything, and
at the gun club.
You're right, with the gun club. And I think I gave you some feedback on one of the logos that you sent, and I thought I wanted a gun in it.
Yeah.
But you sent me back something saying that talking about the subtlety of it, and I went, that sure is subtle, because I didn't get the meaning of it. But now it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's great. It's awesome. It's wonderful. But I read shuffle. I kind of giggle with, yeah, that's subtle, all right. But it
several layers of subtlety there.
Several layers. But it's really good, Josh. And the description changes the description and everything. We've been in Gun Club. We have been. The class has been different than the description for years.
Yeah.
But for many years. We just never
because
get around changing.
for those who don't go to our church that happen to be listening, because we have listeners all
over the world.
Dozens and dozens of listeners all over the world.
Yeah.
Our church has several, like there's the church, and then there's several small groups within the church called small groups, and they all coalesce around a central idea as sort of a mechanism to get people involved in Bible study and community and all that stuff.
You like to run? We had a running club. Come in and live,
which I still don't think the running club is biblical, but
if I'm running, I'm running away from something that we all need to get away from.
Right. I go to the gun club so I don't have to run. No, but ours is the we share common interest in guns, so we talk about guns, we do Bible studies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so our church publishes a list of all those with descriptions. And so we came up with a logo for ours and updated the description to make it more reflective of what we do.
Right. Because it's evolved.
Yeah, it's totally evolved. Mm-hmm. I mean, we started, 2016, late 2016, early 2017. And it's taken on several forms, just like this podcast has.
Right. Sure has. And we don't always keep up with the changes in the literature. And the literature is printed, I think, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year.
We're starting our new year at church because we I think we start our quote new year every August.
Right.
And so the groups relaunch at the end of August every year. And so we're trying to get all of our stuff up to date in preparation for that.
Right. And that'll probably be good for another 3-4 years. You know what I mean? And we might evolve into something else. Who knows? Always around the central theme of Christ and firearms of some sort.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, last night, for example, we had a friend of mine, now a friend of ours, Officer Sean Ford came in and talked to us about his duties as a deputy.
Yeah.
And really it started with my thought of, what do we do if you're legally carrying a firearm and you get stopped? Does a police officer want to know that? How do we navigate through that? And that was just the start of having him come in, but it ended up being a lot more than that.
Right.
Him telling us some funny stories about some things that's happened to him and how he handles things as an individual. Not every police officer is a gun person.
Right.
I think that's important to know. I think that's very important to know. In how he told us a story last night about he was out in the country somewhere, and he got a call, and a neighbor of where the call was saw him pull up and saw him get out and start engaging in the activity, and the neighbor came out and got behind Sean with the neighbor's gun. And Sean looked back and didn't know it was there, and he engaged him. He said, "Well, sir, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I saw that you didn't have any backup, so I came out here to give you backup, son." And he said,
"Old codger with a revolver."
Yeah, he said he had his revolver out, big old silver revolver. First of all, great for him. But boy, you don't want to approach a police officer behind him without knowing it with your gun showing. But because Sean is a gun guy, he assessed the situation and said, "Thank you very much, but if you'll get 100 yards or 100 feet back that way, I would appreciate it. I'll let you know if I need you." If it was a guy or girl straight out of the, graduating and not a gun person,
that might have been a dead old guy.
That may have been a dead old guy. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, those he told us a couple other funny stories and some not so funny. But anyway, that was good. That's the kind of thing we do in Gun Club.
Yeah.
We also have a guest coming in. Katie Hicks comes in from USCCA and talks to us about insurance, and not only insurance, but training.
Right.
As a matter of fact, she contacted me yesterday and says she just got 7 or 8 CERT pistols, and she wants to do a class one Saturday for a couple hours for all of our class in dynamic training with the CERT pistols. So I thought, awesome. She's giving me a date, so we'll do that. That's the kind of thing we do at Gun Club. Half hour of gun, half hour of God. And if you're watching this, you'll get a really good idea of how it looks and how it sounds in Gun Club for the half hour. Josh does the half hour of God, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I like, my favorite part is the God part. Yours is the Gun Club. Gun part. I get it. I'm pretty good too. But
that's why we work so well together.
That's right.
Each of us is is the other's favorite part.
That's exactly right. But it's good. We had a good crowd last night. 12 people, I think.
13.
13 people last night.
Counting
awesome.
you.
Counting me. That's right. That's right. So that was good, and we got a good group of people that are there. But right now, Josh, since I've been static for such a long time, I've been listening to some. I got to a point where at first I can't even watch TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it started getting better, and so I could start watching TV, start listening to some music. So I have started listening to some music. Right before I got sick, I got a good handful of CDs. I went into a thrift store and I picked out a bunch of CDs that I didn't have before that I was interested in getting.
Well, that's the curious thing is, what does COVID Destry listen to?
COVID Destry. Well,
because you've already talked about like how it affected just your overall mood, your mental capacity, all that kind of stuff. And we've talked before about how you listen to music that reflects your mood, not the other way around. So like,
right. And I stick to that. However, this time it was let me just tell you what happened. So I've got my CD collection here, a very 6 or 7 of them of the 200 that I have, and I got these the week before I got sick. So I never really listened to them. I never got a chance to listen to them. So once I got them in the car, I started listening to one of them. I got sick, and then once I got better, it was like I totally forgot that I got them. You know what I mean? And so I started looking through them and go, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I got this. A couple of them are this one. I want to save that one for last. All right. So Train.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Train or listened to Train? Train is a band. I know who they are. Meet Virginia is probably the song that most people know. I'm not going to sing it, Josh. I know you want me to, but I'm not going to. I'll say modern rock, modern rock and roll.
He sings "Hey Soul Sister." Right?
Yes,
yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the only Train. I mean, I know a couple Train songs, but that's the one I know the best.
Okay.
Because years ago, when I was trying to make the right side of my brain work more, the artistic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I was taking music lessons for ukulele, and that was one of like the go-to intro songs. Right. Soul Sister.
Nice. Okay, Casting Crowns. You mentioned that you want me to do some more faith music.
Right.
So this is one of them, Casting Crowns. Very, good music. Good music. Good faith-based music.
Beautiful. What's one of your favorite songs on that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know it that well yet.
Oh, okay. So you're still listening to it.
"Praise You in the Storm" is the one that a lot of people know. Yeah, I'm still listening to it. I've only been out of the bed for a couple of days.
Right.
You know. Let's see. "Praise You in the Storm" is pretty much the biggest one that I think most people will know. Here's one, Crowder. Woof, man.
Yep.
Love Crowder. Crowder is a guy that I've always wanted some of his CDs, but I never think about getting them. But I found a couple of Crowder CDs. This guy looks like he could be a deacon at Marcus Point Baptist Church. Does he not? He looks like he could be. I don't know if I have you can't. He's on a porch. He's got his baseball cap on. Could very well say Marcus Point Baptist Church on his baseball cap. Full beard, full mustache. He sings, and if you're not used to being around somebody who might look like this, it's going to sound like totally different. Right. Totally different person. Now, being accustomed to big beards and mustaches, everything sounds exactly like I think he should sound.
He's like Duck Dynasty's lost
brother.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's right. He could be in Duck Dynasty. This is a lesson I want us to learn, okay? I saw this, and I was so excited. Bad Company, Good Lovin' Gone Bad, Feel Like Making Love, Weep No More, Shooting Star. This is classic rock and roll. Mm-hmm. This is what Destry grew up listening to. And I saw it, and I went, man, I got that. That is my CD. Put it in. got in the car after I got a handful of CDs at the same place. This was the first one I pulled out. This is exactly what I did. Man, I cannot wait. This wasn't in there. I got another one. Pulled it out. Oh, nice. I bought the case. CD wasn't in there.
Oh, nice.
I didn't check. This is the lesson. Nice, but you got to check and make sure the CD's in there. So I bought a CD case with this on it for 99 cents.
Okay.
Which was a bummer. Anyway, that kind of stunk. Okay, here's another one. Third Day. Talked about Third Day before I got sick. Mm-hmm. And I said, I like Third Day. I love another faith-based band.
Not to be confused with Green Day.
That's right. Yeah. Third Day. I like Green Day too. But anyway, Third Day, faith-based band. This guy's voice is real gravelly, very deep, baritone, I think what you would call it. Really, really good voice. I'll be honest with you, man, I can't listen to him. We talked about last time we recorded. They have a tendency to put live music in the middle of maybe 2 or 3 live songs in the middle of a studio.
Yeah, and he talks during
it. He talks during it to try to educate you on what the song is before he sings the words. I mean, I can't stand that. I didn't know that it bothered me so much. I'll listen to it, but when it gets to the live version, I'll fast forward. Right. I can't listen to that. But really good music, really, really good music. If you can,
do you remember back in the days of cassette tapes when you didn't like a song? It was always difficult to like fast forward to it because
you had to anticipate.
Yeah, you had to anticipate it. But then there used to be like cassette tapes or cassette players that for some reason could like sense the gap and would automatically stop. Yeah. And it was like a game changer.
That was high tech.
Yeah. That was awesome.
That was high tech. That was. James Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Has always been, I've seen James Taylor twice in concert. He's always been a favorite of mine. Love James Taylor. So we'll talk about him in the near future. I'll tell you what, for somebody who, in the past anyway, from what I've learned about James Taylor, not necessarily a Christ follower, boy, he sure does talk about God a lot.
Yeah.
He sure does talk about saviors and heaven and all this kind of stuff. In this particular album, he talks a lot about things like that. You know, he's getting older too. You know what I mean? People start searching whenever they get older about things. But anyway, I don't know what his I'll do some research about that and talk about him. Eric Clapton. Not perhaps. He's one of the best guitar players that ever strapped on a guitar.
Right.
He has been so influential in the genre of rock and roll and very influential in just guitarists.
Right.
People emulating him and his style and his sound. Very, 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 very good. He's been around for decades, since the maybe late 50s, early 60s. He's been making music. All right, and there we go to Train again. Here's my last one, Josh. I'll save this last one for you because I've heard you mention this guy before. Can you know who that is?
Oh, yeah, Toby Mac.
Toby Mac.
I didn't recognize the CD cover.
I've never listened to Toby Mac. Mm-hmm. I know he used to be with who?
DC Talk.
DC Talk. So that was that 70s or 80s?
Well, it started in the 80s.
Started in the 80s, okay. So this was... DC Talk was a Christ-based rap. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he went solo, I guess, after they broke up, or maybe during, whatever. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was like they broke up. I think they just started pursuing solo careers.
They're
They're
very popular, right? Very successful. And Toby Mac, this is called "Welcome to Diverse City," and there's no doubt it's rap music,
right?
But man, I like it. I mean, there were times where I would say I would rather not listen to music than to listen to rap. But this has a very dynamic recording. It's produced very dynamically. A lot of low bass, a lot of high, and a lot of mid.
Right.
And I personally like that because I like listening in my car, and it's pretty loud, and I like to hear all of that mixed up. And they did a really good job of this CD. It's I can't even tell. It's at least 15 years old. But it's really it's good. I have no idea where this lies in the number of CDs he's put out. Do you have any idea?
I don't.
I like it a bunch.
I like Toby Mac, but I don't listen to him a lot.
Okay.
I used to listen to DC Talk when I was a teenager. When I was into that.
Okay. Back in the day.
And I know a couple of his songs, and I've seen him in concert.
Okay.
Because my daughter wanted to go to one of his concerts once. Good singer, good performer, all that stuff. But I'm not super familiar with it.
Gotcha.
Like I used to be with DC Talk stuff when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah. I think if you ask kids in high school these days, they would probably see this as retro. I'm thinking, and we've talked about before how in the Ozzy Osbourne episode how churches would respond if that family came into the church.
Right.
How would it respond? And I wondered the same thing about Toby Mac. If Toby Mac came in dressed in whatever he normally wears, if he walked up the aisle and sat in the front row, how would we react to that? It's just a question. I just, if you're watching, he looks like a hip hop guy, good for him.
Yeah,
look like a hip hop.
Well, he
guy.
is a hip hop guy.
He is a hip. That's exactly right. He is a hip hop guy, and it always sparks questions in me. If myself included, if I don't know anything about an artist, and you plug this into a CD player, and you don't really pay attention to the music or to the lyrics, would I want to listen to it?
Right.
But if you start listening to the music, he's talking about Christ in every song. Every song he talks about how he's our Savior and how this is that, how everything that we said, everything that our church says, everything that Pastor Godfrey says, everything that I believe and you believe, that's what he sings about.
Right.
Packaged in hip hop. And to me, I think that should open our eyes. There's bands that I'll be talking. Epinephrine. I can't remember.
Evanescence.
Yeah.
Epinephrine.
That's where epinephrine. There's different bands like that are Christ based, but man, you wouldn't know it if you just listen to the music. Not that epinephrine is like this. There's another band, I can't recall their name right now, but they are hardcore. But man, it's all about Christ. And we can have the conversation. Well, is that lifting him up? Well, the thousands of people that go to their concert are certainly hearing the word. It's packaged in a way that we may not want to hear it. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't mean that it's not right.
Yeah, that's always been the challenge with me because I grew up. Like I used to be a drummer in a worship team and in an Assembly of God church, and we used to play all of that stuff. And it was very performance based. Not to say that there wasn't legitimate content, or a legitimacy to the content of it.
Yeah.
But for a while, it was kind of a weird transition because there were parts of me that wondered, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this without being controversial or whatever, but there were parts of me that wondered, were we focusing on the performance because music affects people on a psychological level? Yeah. For instance, I would notice at the beginning of the worship service, it would be really lively songs, fast tempos, a lot of that kind of stuff. And then as we would get closer to when the sermon was going to be, we would slow down and have more contemplative songs, things like that. And I was wondering, are we creating this artificial environment that we call preparing for the sermon? Are we using music to to form our emotional response in advance? That's kind of the best way I can describe it, I guess. Or are we like, are we focusing on the tempo and the music itself, or are we putting serious thought into the lyrics and how the lyrics are going to tie in with the message, things like that? And so there was several years where I just kind of rejected all of the flashy packages, where I didn't care about contemporary music, stuff like that, because it's almost like, in an effort to parse this out, I sort of isolated myself from the creative production side of things and focused on. It's like I only listen to old hymns, things like that.
Yeah,
and so I've not come full circle, but the way I kind of look at it now is there's kind of like this spectrum. I don't know quite how to describe the boundary between what's right and wrong in music, because like on this spectrum, one side is all of the attention is put into the lyrics and none of the attention is put into the mechanism of communicating those lyrics.
Right.
And then on the other side is the exact opposite. Everything is production, and you have the dumbest lyrics ever. They mean nothing. They're only there because you need something to go with music, but they have no depth to them. They have no really significant spiritual truth with them, things like that. And so where is that middle ground, and where is the line? I think both ends of those spectrum are wrong, but there's this middle ground, and probably the transition from the wrong ends of the spectrum versus what's right. It's like a gray area.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like bounce around in that. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that really, but
well, there's a lot of churches in this world, and I will go on out a limb and I'll say this: I think music has a lot to do with why people choose churches.
Right. It absolutely does.
It's usually the initial, after the greeters and seeing the structures and everything of a church, of a physical building church. The music is the first thing you hear. And I think a lot of people or they find their home, or they decide to go somewhere else before the music's even done. So it's very influential.
Yeah.
And we've had Jeremy on as a guest before on this one of the iterations of this podcast, and listening to him talk, it's extremely tactical.
Yeah.
He doesn't just put together a song list. It is to invite the Holy Spirit in, and it's faster at the beginning, and then at the end it does slow down a little bit in order to bring everybody down a little bit. So it's done on purpose, and he's the first one. He tells everybody this is not a performance. He doesn't want it to be a performance. It's we are worshiping as a group, and people are observing us worship, and that's such a fine line. How do you do that? And some of our questions to him, we had some of the band members too, in other iterations of this podcast. And how do you do that as a bass player?
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself?
Yeah, especially when you're doing multiple services that are identical.
Right.
Is it something that you're sort of acting, playing the part of worship so that other people can. And it was really interesting how he answered that.
It was. And hey, I'll be the first one to admit, sometimes I'm acting, walking into church. I don't want to be there. I do not want to be around you, or you. Not because you're you, and you, because I don't want to be around anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go in, and chances, man, I tell you what, sometimes I've had the best days at church whenever I did not want to be there.
Right.
I've had the best meaningful conversations. I've connected with people so tightly, been able to pray with people and really walk away feeling the Holy Spirit whenever I didn't want to be there to begin with.
Right.
And we're human beings. We don't turn Christian whenever we go into the church. We're supposed to be that way the whole time. I'll be honest with you, I've walked in a bad mood, and I haven't tried to act it.
Right.
I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah.
That's who I am right now.
Right.
And your friends will give you room for that. If I'm that way, I do my best not to put myself around people that need to be influenced in a certain way. You know what I mean? I don't need somebody to come in and say, well, that's what a Christian does. No, I don't need that. So I'll stay behind my camera more, or I'll go somewhere like in a kid's zone and take pictures of where I don't have to interact with people, things like that. But there are times where I've gone in and the Holy Spirit has just jumped on me hardcore. And there's times, Chris, that I have left church early because I can't turn it around. And I am a bad person right now. I'm going to the house.
Yeah.
I am not a good influence on anyone at this particular moment,
It's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's even more difficult because if you're in a position where you can't do that, like you're on the worship team, you're still a human being, and you still have that. And I remember, there are sometimes even like on Wednesday nights, being involved in Gun Club where it's like, man, I am just not feeling it right now. But I can't just be like, sorry, Destry, see ya, 30 minutes before the class starts. You still have to go and do that. And sometimes there's a performative component of that where I try not to do that as much as possible. I try to be honest, right? To a degree where it's still whatever we're doing is meaningful. Just admit like, man, I'm super tired. All this stuff, but here, let's go through this anyway and do the best I can. And I feel like that's pretty much going to be true for any type of ministry that has those sort of attendance requirements. And if you're in worship and you're struggling with something,
you got thousands of eyes on you.
You still have to present, kind of like I do, present the products of my research. You're still presenting the products of the things you've been practicing over the week, and knowing that, it kind of gives me a little bit more ability to sort of deal, I guess, cut them some slack. Right?
Yeah.
Because
right.
Because here again, like the pessimistic side of me thinks, is that just a performance?
Right.
But the human side has to realize that they're just like me. They're struggling with stuff just like I am. They're trying to minister in an environment where they don't always feel like they're like they want to minister.
Josh, let me tell you a story, and we'll transition.
Okay.
Boy, being a pastor, it's a hard job.
Oh, I could never do it. Yeah.
There was a time in my life whenever Pure Friendship Ministries was really rocking on all 8 cylinders. We had events; hundreds of people would come to these events, people with disabilities, and it was a Saturday. We were in the middle of we were about 2 hours into a Saturday symposium where we had hundreds of people there, and I was proud of what we were doing. We were really influencing the community, giving people something to do, something to stand for. And this is a community that doesn't have a lot going on church-wise. So we were, at that point, the only church in town that was doing anything for families that have special needs, individuals in them. And the person that I had speaking at the time was on stage speaking to the crowd, and I was in the back, and I noticed Pastor Godfrey came in a door, and I went over to him, and I was so excited. I said, "Pastor Godfrey, come in here. Let me show you what we're doing." He said, "Destry, give me a couple minutes if you don't mind." He said, "I'll be right there." I said, "Okay." We'll come to find out that next Sunday, the day after that, whenever he was giving a sermon, part of his sermon was him talking about him losing one of his best friends the day before. He had just found out that one of his best friends had died, came into the church, and I approached him, very excited, going, "Pastor Godfrey, come in here, come in." Right. So he had to deal with me whenever in retrospect, he was teary-eyed. I don't know if he had just now found out about it or what, but it couldn't have been long before because the guy died that Saturday.
Right.
And he had to come in, and he came in, and he stayed for about an hour and a half soaking in this environment, which he did not have to do.
Right.
But I just want you to think about the dynamics of emotions that he had to go through, finding that out, coming in, gathering himself, and then going in the community is what he was doing. And I thought, man, it never crossed my mind that something like that would have happened. That impacted me so strongly. Of course, you're going to have to act sometimes. You know what I mean? You're going to have to suck it up and go on about your life and do what's best for the community, for Christ. Then there's going to be, sometimes I just need to go in my office and sit. And it wasn't 5 or 10 minutes by the time I greeted him at the door till he came down. So, man, more power to him to be able to do that. But at that point, he'd been a pastor for 40 something years. He knows how to turn things on and turn things off in the appropriate time. So, like you said, you got to cut some people some slack.
Yeah.
So anyway, Josh, you wanted to, what we're going to talk about? A lady at the well.
Yeah.
What was she doing at the well? Was she getting something to drink or something? Or what was she doing?
It comes from this past Sunday. The verse that was used as the foundation for the sermon was in John 4, verse 35. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift your eyes, look on the fields, for they are white, already to harvest. And the premise of it was like, we live in a community that's ripe for sharing the gospel, and there's people who need the gospel and need to be introduced to Christ and all this stuff. And
that's the white field.
Yeah, that's the white field. And but this passage in John 4 is really cool. I mean, it's hard to say that, because all of it's cool, but there's some.
This is a good part of the Bible,
right? But when you go back in this chapter, the events that lead up to Jesus saying that gives us a little bit more insight into just how deep that statement was, and just what it meant to the people around him. So, back earlier in John 4, Jesus had he had just left Judea, which if you're looking at that word in the context of history,
Judea.
Yeah, Judea. Ancient Israel, the Israel that we read about in the Old Testament, went through three kings as a united kingdom: Saul, David, and Solomon. And right after Solomon died, the kingdom split into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. And we've talked about this before, that the history of it was the southern kingdom of Judah lasted for quite a while. I think almost 5 centuries, give or take. And I'm still parsing that out because I'm making timelines of all these different kings. But the southern kingdom, that Davidic dynasty, the son of David became the king, and his son became the king, and his son, and so forth. And it was all that Davidic line of kings all the way through the history of Judah until they got conquered by Babylon. And the reason they got conquered by Babylon was because they started getting deeper and deeper into idolatry and getting further and further away from God. Got to the point where, in the southern kingdom of Judah was the city of Jerusalem. It used to be the capital of the entire kingdom. It then became the capital just of the southern kingdom of Judah, but that's where the temple was. And it was the center of worship. And Judah got to the point where they were so involved with idolatry that they were putting idols in the temple and worshiping those idols in the temple where the presence of God was supposed to be.
Nerve.
And exactly. And we read about that in the first part of Ezekiel, where he sees this vision of the presence of God leaving the temple. specifically because of the idolatry that's going on there. And so the northern kingdom started off with, one of the sons of David being the king there, but that Davidic dynasty ended up going away, and they had several other dynasties and families, and you had one family come in and kill everyone that was related to the previous dynasty, and something that would look more like the pagan nations around them, and they got evil much faster. In fact, the northern kingdom of Israel didn't last anywhere near as long as the southern kingdom, like a couple hundred years shorter. They got conquered by the Assyrians, and the Assyrians, when they came in, they took everybody out from that area, and they spread them over the Assyrian Empire. They brought other people in to sort of like dilute the ethnicity, to sort of make everybody this homogenous Assyrian Empire. You have no more unique characteristic that makes you who you are. And so that sentiment, the knowledge of that, lasted for generations. When you get to the New Testament and you hear the term Judea, that's Judah. There was in the New Testament, which is centuries after all this happened, there's still this animosity between Judea and Samaria. Because another thing that happened was when the southern kingdom got conquered by the Babylonians, the nation of Judah was still allowed to be, for the most part, the nation of Judah. They were subservient to Babylon. They were subservient to the Persian Empire, Greek Empire, Hellenistic Empire, all that stuff. But eventually they lost that ability. But so after the Babylonian captivity, one of the Persian kings allowed people to come back and start rebuilding Jerusalem, specifically the temple, specifically the wall around Jerusalem. The Old Testament books, Ezra and Nehemiah, deal with that a lot. And there was this kind of like a church split in Ezra and Nehemiah. There was disagreement about rebuilding the temple, and so part of these people split off and went north to what used to be the kingdom, the area of Israel, and started building a temple there on Mount Gerizim. And we've talked about this area before because we've been talking about Shechem past couple episodes. Well, Mount Shechem is right in between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, and so they went to Mount Gerizim and started building a temple there, and that became the center of worship in Samaria. So the people that weren't part of Judea, they worshipped in Samaria. And so you have these two competing centers of worship. You have Jerusalem, where the second temple is, and you have Shechem, Mount Gerizim, where the other temple is built. And you have two groups of people treating these as this is the true center of worship. And both of them hate each other. And so that's where, when you read about the Good Samaritan and all this stuff, like, why is the Samaritan my neighbor? It's calling back to that animosity between these two groups. Like, how dare a Jew from Judea, from Judah, call someone from Samaria his neighbor? They're like, we don't associate with them. They're half-breeds. They're not even true Jews. They have the wrong place of worship. It's a whole thing. Well, here we're in John 4, Jesus left Judea, departed into Galilee. This is verse 3. So he left Judea, departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar. Now, here again, we're reading in the New Testament, which was Greek. Old Testament was written in Hebrew. Sychar, Shechem, same thing.
Same thing.
Right. So near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. just a stone's throw from this is where Joseph is buried. In fact, you can go to this location today between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, and you can see Shechem, and you can see a lot of these old things like where Joshua erected this standing stone. You can still see that. You can see remnants of the altar that they built on Mount Gerizim.
Boy, monuments were so important.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, but verse 5, it says, "Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour." This well is still there. So the place where Jesus sat and talked to this woman in Samaria, in Shechem, in the region of Samaria, is still there. And it has been there since the time of Genesis.
Boy, Josh, would I love to go to those places and take photos.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Modern day photos, reenacting these things. Oh my gosh, that gives me chill bumps to think about that.
And you can see a lot of photos that people have taken, like on Google Earth and things like that. But yeah, doing it in an organized way where you're like you're retracing the path of someone's life. I think that would be amazing.
Oh my goodness, whatever. That'd be life changing.
And like doing with the Bible in hand and like reading this narrative, like Jesus sat here,
right,
and talked to the woman here.
Wow.
You know, I think that would be really amazing to experience. Definitely a bucket list.
Absolutely.
So Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. So here he is in this very historical place. This is Shechem. This is when Jacob came through with his 12 sons. He purchased Shechem, and that's where a lot of the patriarchs, this area is where a lot of the patriarchs are buried. Definitely where Joseph is buried, ended up becoming one of the cities of refuge in the region of Manasseh, where the Levites lived.
Okay.
So there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. So keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. So Jesus is sitting at the well. His disciples, they went into the city to buy meat. So he's just kind of...
They've gone grocery shopping. He's chilling at the well.
Exactly. And this woman comes up, and he strikes up a conversation with her. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. So
she's asking, why are you talking to me?
Yeah, like, we don't like each other. Why are you talking to me? And he says, Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked him, and he would have given thee living water. In other words, if you realized who I am, you wouldn't just be asking me for water. You'd be asking me to give you living water. And what does that even mean? So the woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? So she doesn't quite get...
She's still thinking physical water.
Yeah, she doesn't quite get it yet. Which I think this is a genius way that Jesus introduces this. Because this is kind of an example for us to follow, right? When we're presenting the gospel to people,
right.
A lot of time we think of that as you go knock on someone's door, they open up. If you were to die tonight, blah, 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 let's go through the script.
Straight into it. Yep.
That's not what Jesus did. He took just a regular, everyday conversation about water and opened his own door to present the gospel
Genius.
to her. Yeah? Really, really cool.
He used what is there, physical that you can see,
right,
and assimilated it to what the reason he was really there.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
We're at a well. We're wanting water. Let's talk about some really good water.
Man, oh man, that's
metaphorical, living water. So the woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said to her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. So in other words, now he starts to like correct her gaze, right? Because she's saying, you say you have living water. We're standing at this well of Jacob. How are you better than Jacob? He's the one that started this whole thing. And Jesus is like, well, if you drink this water at the well we're sitting at, you're going to get thirsty again, in an hour or so. But if you drink the water that I give you, you're never going to thirst again. And, to get her attention, right? Because that's why you're at the well, because you're thirsty.
Right.
You need water.
You don't just happen. She intentionally went to the well.
Right. And so introducing this concept of water that can quench your thirst forever, well, what do you even mean by that? And so he's talking about a different thirst, something that our soul longs for. The woman, this is verse 15, the woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call your husband and come here. And the woman answered and said, I don't have a husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast said well, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. And that saidst thou truly. In other words, you've been pretty promiscuous. Of course you don't have a husband. You've been with a bunch of guys. And so he's like, supposedly doesn't know anything about her, but proves to her, like, there's something different about this guy, because he knows stuff about me that nobody else knows, or that he shouldn't know. And so she said, the woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Yeah, you think? But then she said this, and this is where it gets really interesting. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. So it's almost like she's changing the subject. She realizes that he's a prophet. And so that acknowledgement starts to put both of their minds into the history of this area. And she says, our fathers, her ancestors, the Samaritans, they worshipped in that mountain, Mount Gerizim, which is right next to Shechem. But she says, you say that in Jerusalem, like Jews, you guys say that Jerusalem is where we're supposed to worship.
Yeah.
And so Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. That's kind of a controversial thing to say, because whether or not you have a disagreement about, is Jerusalem where we're supposed to worship, or is Mount Gerizim where we're supposed to worship, whether you disagree on that, both agree it's got to be one of them, because those are the only two like holy places of worship that have been established.
Okay, right.
And so Jesus says something really controversial. He's like, it's going to come a time not too long from now where neither of these are going to be the center of worship. So what do you do with that, lady? And so he said, you worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. So he's kind of like sticking it to her, but in a way that like piques her curiosity, right? He says, you guys are wrong about where you're supposed to be worshiping. Jerusalem is where right now you're supposed to be worshiping. Salvation is of the Jews, Judah, right? But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So man doesn't worship God in Gerizim or Jerusalem. Man worships him in spirit and in truth. Right? And so he's setting this up to where, very shortly there's going to be a dramatic shift in our relationship with God. We know what he's referring to because, a few chapters later, he's on the cross dying for our sins, acting as our high priest, entering into that relationship with God on our behalf, so that now we don't have to go to a temple to do atonement. We can boldly walk into his presence ourselves with Jesus as our high priest. And we don't need a Jerusalem. We don't need a Mount Gerizim. And so he says this, the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. So she doesn't realize that, because remember, she thinks, oh, you're a prophet. And she knows that prophets in the Old Testament, there are prophets to the northern kingdom, prophets to the southern kingdom, both had the same message, all that stuff. And both, all these prophets would constantly talk about a coming Messiah. And so she's like, I know that the Messiah is going to come. And when he does come, he's going to tell us all this stuff. And that's when Jesus reveals to her, he said, Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he talked with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? So remember, his disciples went to go get groceries. Right. They came back. They find Jesus talking to the Samaritan woman, and it says they marveled that he talked with the woman. Why are you talking to the Samaritan woman? We don't talk to those people. Right. Right. So the woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and saith to the men, Come, see a man which told me all the things that I ever did. Is not this the Christ? So now she realizes who this guy is. So then they went out of the city and came unto him. In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. Because remember, they just went and got groceries. He's chilling at the well. They come back. They're like, all right, we got food. Let's eat. He said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. So now he's talking to the disciples like,
dude, just eat, man. I get it.
Like, you don't want water, you want living water. You don't want meat, you want other meat, right?
You got to roll.
Therefore said the disciples one to another, hath any man brought him aught to eat? So they don't get it. Like, I have meat that you know not of. Oh, someone else brought you some food?
Somebody went to Burger King for you before we got back.
Jesus said unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. And this is where that verse we started with comes from. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white, already to harvest. Where are they? They're in Shechem. They're Mount Gerizim. They're at this well in Samaria, this area where they don't care about these people. These people are, there's nothing about these people that make them worthy of anything. And what does he say? Look where we are.
They need me more than you need me at this point.
Right. It's like, this is still the harvest. This is the harvest is white. It's ready. There's people here in Samaria, people that you don't think are deserving, that need the gospel.
Wow, what a lesson.
And that's why it's interesting when he told them, like, before he ascended up in heaven, he said, Judea, Samaria, other parts of the world. So it's like, we need to reunite Israel.
Wow.
But it says, he that reapeth receive wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one soweth, another reapeth. I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. And many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman which testified, he told me all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans were come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with him, and he abode there 2 days, and many more believed because of his own word. So here again, these aren't supposed to be people we're concerned about. These are half-breeds. They think there's the wrong place to worship to begin with. There's all kinds of problems with them, going all the way back to the Babylonian captivity. Even before that, when Israel set up their own place of pagan worship in the northern kingdom. Like, these people are lost. We're the chosen people. The gospel's for us. And what does Jesus say? Nope. Look where you are. We're in Shechem. We're in the northern territory.
Wow.
These are the people you don't care about. This is part of your harvest.
Still teaching his disciples just a few days, not long before he was on the cross.
Right. I mean, this was fairly early on in his ministry. But yeah, I mean, he's preparing the hearts and the minds of his disciples for when he's gone, that they have the same burden for non-Jews that he has.
He does. Wow.
And this is one of those pivotal moments in that education where it's like, it's not just about Jews. Let's go the next step. It's about Samaria. And after this, he's like, it's the next step. It's the Gentiles.
And this is why we do, and why our podcast is called The Deep Dive, because chances are, if you're watching or listening to this, you've heard this, you've heard the verse before, right? You've heard the story about the lady at the well and all that, but have you heard the story leading up to it? Right. So Josh dives deep into the story leading up to it, and to me, that brings it alive. That brings the story alive, and I think that's a good lesson for everybody to remember, that it's great to read your Bible and read the highlights. Sunday is an outline, and then going deeper into that is really our responsibility, and it's a gift to be able to do that.
Yeah, the context brings so much more out of it, because I mean, knowing the history of where they were, going all the way back into Genesis,
right?
Because that's where we first encounter Shechem, is in Genesis.
Okay,
really brings a lot of detail into this, of what's going through the woman's mind, what's going through Jesus' mind, what's going through the disciples' mind. Why do they hate each other? Why is Jesus trying to correct them on this? That kind of stuff.
And the fact that he is correcting them. Why is he correcting them? And if you're like me, early on in my Christian life, you kind of think you're just the disciples. They already know everything. They're being taught just like we're being taught. Every day they're learning. They were with him, and he was teaching them. So they will go out and teach everybody his teaching. So, and
to know that you can go there today, sit at the same exact spot, because it still exists and people visit it all the time.
Wow, that is so cool.
Is mind blowing.
That is mind blowing. Yeah, I'd love to be able to go there and do what we're talking about. Josh, thanks, man. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. And we'll close up here. Donna, I love you. And thank you for taking care of me while I was sick. By the way, it wasn't only me. She brought me. She went to town, got meat, and brought it to me. Josh, is what she did. That's exactly what Donna did. Brought my medications, brought my meat, and made sure I was okay. So thank you for that, sweetheart. I love you. And next week will be, 75, right? Or 85. 85. Yeah. We'll be doing episode 85. Look forward to seeing you all again. Thanks. Bye.